This is Diana Sullivan in Austin, Texas. Today I'm going to show how to do this rather interesting wavy drop stitch. This is a knit 2 purl 2 ribbing actually. This is an industrial rib. That simply means that the knit needles and the purl needles are only a half step apart. This is a very small space here between this knit and this purl needle. Now, to pick up the needle arrangement, you can use this tool that comes with your ribber, or you can just count out the needles. But you're going to have 2 needles, skip 1, 2 needles, skip 1, 2 needles, skip 1 for this needle arrangement. And that's on the ribber. I went from 10 right to 10 left, and my machine is set on 2.5. I'm at half pitch. On the main bed, I went from 11 left, skip a needle, and see how these are coming out in between the ribber needles, over to 9 right. So my end needle is on the main bed on the far left, and my end needle is on the ribber on the far right. Now I'm just going to go across the back empty to even up the knitting. Now let's talk about how to cast on. To cast on, we're going to take 2 whole clicks to the left. What that will do is line up the needles so that they are alternating in a zigzag pattern. That allows us to put a zigzag row in with the knitting machine. And if you have done this correctly, the end needles are next to each other on both ends. So that was 2 complete steps on this Brother machine. Now, of course, this is a pattern that you could do with any machine that has a ribber. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is the zigzag row. Just like I always do zigzag rows, I'm simply threading the main carriage and ribber carriage and setting them for the tightest tension and knitting across. Now you can see the zigzag row. It's kind of an irregular zigzag, but definitely a back and forth movement. At this point, I can hang a comb. I'm going to hang a short standard gauge comb. It actually works just fine with the bulky machine. I'm going to get in here and center it as closely as I can. That way, when I put the weights on, they'll be centered as much as possible. I'll go ahead and I'll hang one of the large ribber weights. This isn't a real big sample. Then I'm going to turn up to tension 1, set my machine for circular. All of these cast-on things are exactly the way they're done in your book, and knit 3 rows. Now you need to get this lined up again, racked in other words, moving the ribber over by the 2 full steps so that the ribber needles are in between the main bed needles. Now I'm going to go ahead and knit a couple of rows just to make the edge on the knitting. And now it's doing true 2 by 2 ribbing. It's purl 2, knit 2, all the way across. And now it's time for our fancy little stitch. I like to put the row counter on 0, 0, 0. Because what I'm going to do is multiples of 4 rows. And I'm going to use this pusher tool to make this fast and easy. I'm going to put in the in-between needles up on the main bed and knit 4 rows. Now, I didn't do anything about this last pair on the ribber. I just put up the ones that are in between the needles up on the main bed. So I knit 4 rows. See how it made extra loops? Now I get to do my drop stitch. I'm going to take the extra loop, it's the one in between the 2 ribber stitches, bring it out and drop it all the way across And after you do this a little, you can do this quite quickly. Then I'm going to take my tool and bring up my in-between ribber needles and knit 4 rows. Again, I'm going to drop them. I'm dropping the stitches that are parked in between the 2 main bed needles. Bring up the main bed needles, and I just gave my knitting a little tug. It's unraveling, and I want it to. Get rid of my extras. Put up my ribber needles and knit 4 rows. I'm going to keep doing this until the piece is as long as I want it to be. And then we need to talk about how best to do the bind off. Sample is as long as you want it. Here's how to finish it up. Start by getting rid of the extra needles, whether you just did main bed extra needles or ribber extra needles. Get rid of them. Push them up and down to drop them. And then knit 2 rows. Now, loosen your tension way up. In my case, I'm going all the way from 2 to 8 and knit 1 row. That is going to be a row that we can use for the loop-to-loop bind-off. Now I tried doing it on the machine and thought it was annoying, and I discovered a really easy way to do it. I just go ahead and thread another color of yarn and do a few rows of waste yarn. After I've done my waste yarn, I can just clip the yarn, grab the knitting from underneath and catch it as I go across. This stitch is a little prettier, I think, if you block it open a little bit. And here's how it looks, but we still need to do the bind off. Now the bind off is going to be done from the side that has no tail to the side that has the tail. And as a lefty, I'm going to flip this over and go this way so I can end at the tail. If you're right-handed, you would start here, begin here, and work over to the tail. And use your latch tool. You have to kind of unroll the very end to find the first stitch. And this is simple. I just grab the first stitch, grab the second stitch, which is, it's a purl, it's hiding down there, and I pull it through the first. Then I grab the third, which is a knit, the fourth is a knit, the fifth is a purl, another purl, then a knit, oops, try again. I let my latch close, then a purl, purl. See, I'm just grabbing the side of the leg on the knits. That's really good enough. And I'm grabbing the top loop on the purls. I just take this all the way across. At the end I pull the last piece through. Then I just unravel the waste yarn. That's how it looks. Isn't it great? Here's a fun little stitch. It's pretty thick and puffy, and it's completely reversible. It looks just the same front and back. It's great for things like scarves, shawls, someplace where you want an interesting stitch that goes quickly and has a little bit of laciness to it. So give that a try.